Let's talk about how to pass EY's video interview for 2022. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another Pass the Interview video. Today we're going to be covering one of our most popular videos from 2021, how to pass the video interview for EY. Now, if you're looking for more videos like this, which go in depth into how to pass interviews, how to get a job in the UK, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like this video and drop us a comment down below to let us know how we're getting on. And guys, don't forget, down in the description below, you can download our free 28 most common questions handout. You can download the Pass the Interview pack for EY, which includes this research note, scripts for competency questions, motivation questions and templates, how to answer them, and also our 60-minute prep kit, which contains a 20 video course for how you can get ready for your next video interview and make sure you smash that EY interview. So as usual, we're going to go through 5 fast facts for the company. I'm going to talk to you about the structure of the interview, and then we're going to cover the most common questions that you can expect to come up in the EY video interview based on research from publicly available sources, and finally some other questions which we found super interesting and we think that you will too. Let's get started. 5 fast facts about EY. EY was founded in 1989 after the merger of 2 firms. Fact number 2, EY has 3 core values which define who they are, which are people with energy, enthusiasm and the courage to lead, people who demonstrate integrity, respect and teamwork, people who build relationships based on doing the right thing. Fact number 3, EY aims for 40% female representation in their partnership by 2025. Fact number 4, EY has over 280,000 employees, making it one of the largest employers of people in the whole world. And finally, fact number 5, EY has a program called EY Ripple, which aims to impact 1 billion lives by 2030. Talk about a big goal or a 10x goal. Guys, those are 5 facts that you can use to answer that all-important why do you want to work for EY question, or of course you can go off and research your own answers for it. So now we're going to talk about what is the structure of the EY application process and also the EY interview. So candidates tended to report that the whole process from submitting an application all the way through to getting a job offer took about 3 months. You're going to be asked to do something which is called a job simulator. This is very similar to other professional services companies, namely Deloitte and KPMG. The only one that varies is PwC, which kind of has a case study in it. So you can expect some numerical and SJT type questions. You'll then be asked to do a video interview, which lasts for 30 minutes. You should expect 5 questions for this, where you get 2 minutes to prepare and 2 minutes and 30 seconds to record your answer. After which, you're going to be asked to attend an assessment centre and potentially afterwards do a short presentation to a partner and then get the job offer. So that's the structure that you're looking at. 2.5 minutes to deliver an answer is quite a long time. If you're thinking about writing an interview script, then you're probably looking at about 250 to 300 words, which is a pretty substantial script actually. You don't want to be speaking any quicker than 125 words per minute. If you really don't know how to write interview scripts or you want some help with that, make sure you check out the link in the description below for the Job Ready English store or courses.jobreadyenglish.com, where I believe we now have over 25 courses, digital downloads and products. And we have scripts and templates to help you write motivation questions, competency questions, SJT questions, also strength, because a lot of times we found that clients of ours would really struggle to know what to say and how to say it and what examples for that. So check that out in the description below. So now let's look at the most common questions. We've got 12 questions which we're going to work through in all. We picked out 8 which we thought was super likely, and another 4 which we thought were kind of interesting or came up enough that we wanted to highlight them. Question number 1, when have you faced a difficult situation? EY quite likes a mixture of competency and strength-based questions. Facing a difficult situation, a couple of things to think about with this one. Number 1, make sure it is genuinely difficult. Sometimes people talk about challenges which aren't really significant. For me, it could be a changing deadline, a difficult project, an open-ended problem that you needed to solve, solving a problem that other people haven't solved before if they've solved it in a difficult way. For a lot of students, it's going to be a big exam, an end-of-term project, a dissertation, or just something that has really challenged them and pushed you beyond. And I think it's important to define how this was difficult and how you had to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. So whether that be more research, asking people for help, doing other things, whatever that may be, I think that's really quite important. Question number 2, why EY? Now, of course, this is a regular for any company. Any of you who've watched past the interview videos before know this is a question that we cover all the time. If you've got 2.5 minutes to answer, I would say shoot slightly under time for this, maybe 2 minutes. That's enough time to fit in 6 good facts. You could learn those. EY has a ton of information available through their website. So that could be through their annual report, reading the managing director or the chairman's statement. It could be through a recent project that they've done. It could be their corporate social responsibility, recent client news. There's really a whole heap of stuff because professional services companies are really in the business of churning out white papers and information because that's what they use to then attract clients into an inbound sales funnel. So there's plenty of stuff to pick out there, just something to be mindful of. Try not to put together just random facts that don't resonate with you and don't mean anything to you. So for example, if you're saying, well, it's great that EY wants 40% of its partners to be females by 2025 because as a young Asian woman, I feel that you get the idea. So try and pick out facts which has some form of personal resonance to you. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like you're reading out a shopping list. I generally tend to find this when people are reading out like a load of financial or revenue type numbers because it doesn't really resonate. It just kind of seems like you're reading out a list. If it's boring to you, it's going to be boring to somebody else. Question number 3, tell me about this role. The good thing about EY is they tend to give quite a lot of information about the different graduate roles. If you're struggling to find this, say for example you're applying as a tax graduate to go and work at EY, then just type in tax graduate into Google and go and look at that for a different company so you can get a good idea of what are you going to be doing 9 to 5, what are the soft skills that you would need, personal, client relationship building, teamwork, leadership, and so on and so forth, and what the hard skills that you need. Do you need to be particularly numeric? Do you need to be good at Excel? Do you need to have a passion for regulation and keeping up for the things that are going on with tax, for example? And this is a 2-part question. So the first part of this question is really saying, well, this is what I do. This is your opportunity to really show your employer that you know the job that you're applying to, because most people apply for jobs and they don't really know what they're doing. They're just like, I just applied for a job because it seemed fine. The second part is you outlining, because you know the skills from the job description. So the second part is really you outlining the parts that are important to you, and then basically saying, well, this is where I've got those skills. If you can draw that from work experience, for example, that would be a great thing to do. Question 4, tell me about yourself. Now, we've done a brilliant video on this. It's really quite long and it comes with a worksheet because this is one of the most popular interview questions. Make sure you look up in the YouTube search channel, just type in tell me about yourself JRE or Job Ready English, and you'll find a super long and helpful video. Any personal introduction should have 6 parts. So what you're basically looking for is, what are you doing? What have you done? What would you like to do? So present, past, future, work experience, volunteering on extracurriculars, and finally skills and interests. If you download the Tell Me About Yourself worksheet, you'll find that super helpful. We've just had it redesigned. It really looks very nice, and you can kind of like write it out sort of piece by piece and structure that. And we've also got an example contained in that worksheet as well. So that is really very helpful for you to get a hold of. The good thing about a personal introduction is that if you can really nail a personal introduction, it's a really good starting point for preparing for all your other interview questions. So if you're watching this, you don't actually have an EY interview, but you're like, hey, I'd like to work for EY and I don't really know where to start with interviews. Personal introduction is a really great place to start. So for you to sit down and really dig into that, make sure that you repeat it. I tend to find sort of 5 to 10 repetitions, and you can really just kind of reel this off the cuff. Another thing to be aware of with having some form of script is that it's not always going to be the same, it's going to change. In order for something to be natural, it does deviate somewhat. So sometimes you'll leave a little bit out. You'll generally cover all the most important bits, but there's no shortcut to practice. That's always a really important thing for me to emphasize. Whether I be preparing somebody as a one-to-one, on an hourly call, or just as a general consult, or through you guys, through our YouTube channel. Always remember there's no shortcut to practice, and you need a series of repetitions over a number of days to basically go from short to long-term working memory. Question number 5, what are your strengths and weaknesses? I would say if you had 2.5 minutes for this, I'd maybe pick 2 strengths, 1 weakness. So the 2 strengths, so it might be, I've got great analytical ability, and then say why. Maybe it's because of the degree that you take, maybe it's because of a project that you did, maybe it's your dissertation, maybe it's the job that you had, but give me some kind of proof. Give me something, you know, if someone says, well, I'm an excellent basketball player, the next question is be like, well, who do you play? When do you play basketball? Who do you play it with? How long have you played it for? As soon as somebody offers a statement which infers an opinion or a status of a person, the next thing we kind of want to do is, well, prove it. You know, how have you got that? When you're dealing with the weakness, so you want to look at this as something that you were bad at and then you learned a lesson and now you're good at. So it could be, I used to be really bad at multitasking, so I could only really do one thing at a time. And what I tended to find is as I had more to do, then I would end up dropping the ball on maybe some less important tasks. So what I learned to do was I learned to calendarize and diarize, make sure that I had stuff booked out for what I was going to do. So for example, like I've just recently got one of these, a little weekly planner, which I find quite cool. I tend to stick to that very loosely, but I find that really useful to do because something that I kind of struggle with is my ability to multitask, because I can't, humans can't. I can only really do one thing well. So that's something to bear in mind. And then what lesson that you learned, because everybody has a weakness that they can get better at. It just can't be a weakness that is kind of a deal breaker. You know, I'm a violent drunk at work, for example. Now that's hilarious. Question number 6, tell me about a time when you worked under pressure. Frequently working in professional services, I can certainly speak from experience, having seen many clients work at, you know, the Big Four, having had an ex-partner who worked at the Big Four. It can be quite stressful and pressurized because you might be spending 12, 14 hours a day working and traveling while you're studying. It is a stressful environment. It's very rewarding. You get world-class training, you get, you know, very generous benefits and allowances, whether that be for dinner or hotel, but it's still quite stressful. Working under pressure is really a case of, you know, sometimes and a lot it's just about resilience, consistency and persistence. And just saying, you know, generally people tend to be under pressure when they've got a short deadline or they've got an inflated sense of expectation about themselves. Tell me about a time you worked well in a team. Another really key thing for working in professional services, and something that most people don't realise, particularly if you're going to work in audit and consulting, is that there's a really fast turnaround for projects and you don't tend to stick with the same team for very long. So you might do 3 days here, 2 weeks there. If you're lucky, you might work on a project for a month or 2 during busy season, or a particularly large extended consulting project for a national or international company. But most of the times you're really chopping and changing a lot. So you're having to go into a new team, meet new people, meet a new senior, get your eyes on the prize very quickly, get down and get to work, right? So what that means is that kind of that willingness to learn, that ability to listen, that openness to communicate, to be helpful, to go above and beyond to deliver to the client. Question number 8, what can you bring to this role? This is basically for me as a skills question. So a lot of people tend to approach this question and be like, well, you know, I'm enthusiastic and I'm hungry and I'm bright. And I'm just like, you're pretty much describing most of the people that are applying for this role. So whenever you get a sort of question that is basically built around why are you a good fit for this role? It's like, because I got what you want. Why do you want to make burgers at McDonald's? Because I made burgers at KFC. Because I can make 300 burgers an hour, or however, I'm sure they make many more burgers than that. So the whole point is the most relevant thing is going to be experience and skills. It's not going to be based upon my personality or my desperation to get a job. It's very much going to be about, you know, why do you want to make biscuits? Because I've designed biscuits for Cadbury's. So, you know, and I had 3 bestsellers. Oh, the job's yours. So we're going to talk about 4 other questions which came up, which may not be as common, but we found to be quite interesting. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? At EY. Always the same. At EY, generally you'd be qualified. You'd qualify in 2 or 3 years, depending on the qualification that you're taking. You'd probably be a manager or maybe a senior manager in 5 years if you're on a fast track. You're going to be running teams, projects and clients, and then continuing to learn, specialize, and really to become an expert within your individual industry niche. What past experience do you have which shows good leadership skills? For most people, this tends to be based around societies. It could be when you're in a service job and you had to run a team. And also don't forget, leadership is also self-leadership. I know that sounds a little bit funny, so like leading myself, but ultimately I do lead myself. I wake up in the morning and I think I have 3 things to do today, and then I go to bed at night and think, did I do those 3 things? If I didn't, then why not? Did I have an inability to lead myself and to get things done? So it could just simply be, you know, I am a leader because I've always, you know, gotten done what I needed to get done. When I work in a team, I'm always be a part of it. It's not about being in the front, it's about making sure that the work gets done, I meet goals, and I deal with difficulties effectively. How would you deal with a conflict in the workplace? Conflict in the workplace is relatively common. A lot of the time it kind of comes out in passive aggressive behaviour or a little bit of gossiping or whatever that may be. But the point of the matter is that ultimately when a conflict impedes a team being able to complete work for a client, then it becomes a problem. Because essentially, you know, sometimes we're not going to like everybody, let's be honest about it. But we are going to need to be able to work together in order to get a project done, particularly if you're on a team with a difficult member. Sometimes it can be a case of taking that person to the sides, to discussing it one-to-one. That doesn't work, it can be a case of speaking to your manager, but it's making sure that you do it in a professional way, in a way that's clear, that's in some cases documented, and also that's not shaming or blaming. A very common thing that people tend to do is like, it's their fault, it's all about them, instead of kind of taking it back, a little bit of self-awareness and going, look, this is how I feel about this situation. That may not have been your intention, but this is how I feel about it. Finally, tell me about a recent piece of business news you have heard. I always encourage you, if you're watching this video and you're applying for any kind of professional, financial, or banking services or type of industry, you should be keeping up the business news. It doesn't need to have to be anything major. Just read BBC Business once a week. Unless you're watching this and you want to be a quant or work in M&A or front office banking, then that's a little bit different, and then you shouldn't really need to know that, because otherwise it's a bit of a pipe dream. But make sure you keep your finger on the pulse. And also one other piece of, there are plenty of industry specific websites out there that you can just sign up for a weekly news blast from, and that's just enough just to keep your eye in. So if you are asked this is a really common question in partner interviews as well. You can make sure that you have an adequate understanding of the industry and the bigger picture and the things that are going on. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you want more like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop us down a comment, check out the free resources down below. If you want more good stuff like this, check out our courses and our products. I wish you the best of luck for your interview, and I will see you soon. Bye.